Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Charlotte. Today, I'm your host, Alan, and we're glad you're here on this awesome October morning. Whether this is your first time or if you keep coming back, we honor your presence in our open and affirmative community. So today's talk title is Happiness is an Inside Job. Yeah, let me repeat that. Happiness is an inside job because sometimes even I have those days where I walk around and I'm Mr. Grumpy. So I repeat that for me. All right. And I also brought a quote that also helped that sink in too, to go along with today's message. Not having the best situation, but seeing the best in your situation is the key to happiness. I'm going to say that one more time so I can remember it on Monday. Not having the best situation, but seeing the best in your situation is the key to happiness. And that is by Forleo. So I invite you to let those words sink in as we listen to the talk today and also the announcements that will follow. There's always some new gold nugget to discover here. So later on today, I encourage you to check out our website, cslcharlotte.org, put in a prayer request, and find out more about us. You can also follow us on our social media links, such as YouTube and Facebook. So now I invite you to just take a deep breath, grab yourself a cup of coffee, and just get settled in as I pass the mic over to our fabulous, radiant Reverend Rosedale Jones.
Whoa, that quote is something I need to remember for this talk because I gotta remember it. I gotta look at you and you gotta go to that, me, Alan. So anyway, thank you, Alan, my right-hand man, for that fabulous quote. And to our YouTube listeners and everybody else, welcome to CSL Charlotte. We are the Mind, Body, Spirit Center. So the first thing we do is open our celebration service with an affirmative prayer to set the tone. And I can't think of anybody better but my old classmate, friend, and colleague, and all that fabulous stuff, Sonja Prince. So with that being said, she's the first on our platform. So listen to her prayer because I want you to think about happiness being the inside job. Hint, hint, Sonja. So Sonja, let it rip.
Thank you, Reverend Rosedale. And I'm so grateful to be the person to pray in this morning. And I'm reminded about what Mo said this morning about looking out at the beautiful Colorado skies. And I'm reminded that that one source, that one power, that one love that I call God is ever present in each and every one of us. In that sky, in the beautiful hills, valleys, wherever you are from, God is everywhere present. And with that awareness of the divine, we also know that that's where our happiness and that's where our joy lies. And as Reverend Rosedale delivers her message this morning, she will be reminding us of happiness being an inside job. And so with this prayer, I just know that what needs to be said and communicated will be communicated straight to our hearts, because that's where the change takes place. That's where the awareness takes place in our hearts. And so again, good morning. And I'm so grateful to be here at the Mind, Body, Spirit Center with all of you. And today, let's take away that power within ourselves to push forward and find that happiness within. And so just knowing that this is a beautiful day, this is a day that God has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. But we start our day with prayer, and we're starting our day with a beautiful message today. So open your hearts and minds and receive it. And so I just let go. and I let God, and so it is.
Oh, it is. Wow. Alan and Reverend Sonja already just brought the. We might as well go home because y'all just brought that whole talk to life. But we have another person to come to our awesome platform, and that is Groovy G. Really, her name is Jerry Campbell, but the name's a name. So with that being said, I know that she knows that happiness is an inside job because she's reading the reading, but she's not only that, she already knows I gotta keep going. I keep listening to her when I call her and I'm talking to her on the phone and I could hear her doing her readings through her audible system. I just love it. So listen to Groovy's reading today because you're gonna learn how happiness is an inside job. So after Groovy's reading, you're going to know who you are because that song, I Am Light, is going to remind you. So with that being said, it speaks the truth of who we are, beyond our conditions, beyond our past, and beyond our struggles and pain. So with that being said, Groovy, make it do what it do.
Good morning, everyone. It's my honor to read The Joy Within, written by Reverend Rosedale Jones. Imagine a world where enjoyment, instead of desire, is the driving force behind our actions. Imagine a world where happiness emerges naturally from the pure joy of being alive and engaged, instead of joy coming from outside achievements or possessions. What if you could tap into that joy right here and now? The key lies in playfulness, a gateway to authentic happiness that bubbles up from within. When you feel that current of enjoyment running through you, you're not just experiencing happiness, you're embodying it. Here are some fun facts about happiness that comes from the inside. It's contagious. When you cultivate inner happiness, it naturally radiates to those around you, creating a ripple effect of joy. It rewires your brain. Practices like gratitude and meditation strengthen your mind. The good news is gratitude makes joy your default mode over time. It boosts resilience. Inner happiness isn't just about feeling good, it helps you bounce back from life's challenges with greater ease and grace. Happiness is not a destination, it's a practice. True happiness doesn't depend on circumstances. It grows through small, consistent actions like playfulness, kindness, and mindfulness. It connects you to your purpose when you feel you're more in tune with your values and passions. Joy naturally aligns with what matters most. So, what should you do in the moments of joy? Lean into your spiritual practices, whether it's visioning, meditation, scripting, transforming fear into faith, or practicing affirmative prayer. All of these tools align with your inner and outer worlds, making joy your bottom line. You don't need to master every practice. Start with just one. Embrace what feels right for you and let it guide you. Here at CSL Charlotte, we offer supportive space to explore, learn, and grow through these practices. The following is a quote from Reverend Rosedale Jones. Happiness is not a reward, it's a response to life and the gentle awareness that right now is enough. And so it is.
Ooh, ooh, we are going to start with a short centering. And then we're going to relax our eyes by looking into our lap or closing them if we choose. Did you hear when she went base on us? That's when she affirmed, I am light. Now, when you get that bass, you got it. So now breathe in really deep and really long and exhale that light and bring it back inside of you, because that is where happiness is. The song I Am Light really speaks to the truth of who we are. You heard her in the beginning. We are beyond our conditions, beyond the past, and the struggles that we thought we were having. Struggles, come on. And whatever pain we got, it goes away too. So we are more than any label that we can place on ourselves or that anybody gave us. You know, back in school, they said these things about us. Yeah, I was a mischievous little girl and they used to say mean things to me because I was that. Well, so what? I am light. We are light, guys. That just ripped that girl in India. Really gets me going. She got me going today. So as a reminder of that truth, she affirmed it even more so than anything. But you know what? Let's today look at that happiness that's inside of us and also look past the pain and the circumstances that we have to deal with. Because they're going to be here. But because happiness is not just real, it's actually renewable. Every time you feel that you lost it, find a way to renew it. That's what I mean by happiness is an inside job. So we create our own happiness, but when we do, that's when you feel light. So today we're going to experience this happiness, but we're going to speak of it in terms of that love. Actually, it's really about self-love. So deepen your practice and let happiness replace helplessness. And when you do that, the power comes big time in your manifestations. So let happiness replace helplessness, and it's in that way, nurture that happiness as best you can, because I have just one simple question. Are you ready to experience happiness as an inside job? Well, you're a choice because you can choose whether you want to practice, you do your spiritual practices so that you can create this happiness or not. But happiness is an inside job. Is whose job? Your job. So with that being said, wiggle your fingers and your toes and integrate that mind, body, and spirit. You know, we need the three to live forever as long as we want to stay forever young. We need them all. So as you really come back into the space that we're starting that talk, allow something in you, outside of you, to connect you back to the present moment. So, what I do know is this. There is a quiet truth about happiness that we often overlook. We do. It's a quiet truth. It's not something we look for. You know, we gotta go, people, I remember when I first started the happiness thing way back in the 70s, I said, what is happiness? Stop asking that silly question, because you already have it inside of you. It's not something we look for, remember? It's something we remember. It's already tucked in here. It's waiting for us to spot our light. We already know we are light. So look. See, during my years of self-reflection, I began affirming the powerful truth. And here it is. Happiness is an inside job. The joy of our ancestors was a bold testimony that no matter how hard life seemed, we are unbreakable. Think about all the many problems that we had in this world and we continue to have. But are you alive? So that in of itself should be your happiness, your gratitude for being able to get up in the morning. See, we all live through seasons. I laugh when I think about the stuff that we lived through, and they seemed heavy, right? And it was things like the stock market crash, I don't know, 70s, 80s, I don't know. And then we had these periods that they kept naming as recession periods, right? Then we had a couple of political unrest stuff, right? Then we had COVID, right? And many times we had so many things go on in this world. But you know, when I think about tilting into the darkness, I think about the sun and the moon tilted. And then we lose that light. But it's only temporary. But here's the truth. Those seasons were temporary. Everything that we go through, every challenge, every so-called disaster has passed us already. Remember, everybody was running out to the store. I gotta get toilet tissue. I mean, you really believe that this world is ever going to deplete and go? Then there's a problem inside of you. And that's where you got to make that job yours. Because happiness is an inside job. You have to be happy first. But see, notice, the light found its way back. So don't get caught up in dark times of today. This year, people say the darkness is about politics and who's in the White House. That's temporary too. Have you forgotten that's temporary too? Come on, happiness is an inside job. A few years ago, it was the pandemic. But before that, it was the economy. You heard what I said. And in the future, it'll be something else. Don't let what's happening in the White House change the truth today. And this is what makes me get that. My client I had a couple of months ago and finished her off and got her good and going. It's never a year-long thing. It's just enough to get that person started. So she called me yesterday and she was telling me that she hasn't been motivated to eat properly the way she and I worked on her training about that, and also to do her workout, her exercises. She's not one of them. I thought, I wonder what that's about. So, I'm going to probe her. So what I'm finding from our conversation is she's been caught up in the news, in the protests, in all the noise. You can't hear your happiness whisper through all that noise. But I knew, just by listening, there's nothing I could do to motivate her. It's an inside job. Holly, happiness is an inside job. So if you're going to keep on giving me that story, you're not going to hear your story, you're going to hear the noise. She wanted me to join these marching things. She's sending me these links and telling me, I said this because I said, no, don't send me the links. Because I'm going to tell you like this. I would rather be happy than fight a fight that's not mine. That fight has been rocking since the beginning of these early centuries, back in the 6th century, if you will. I'm not coming here to redo or anything like that. You know what that's going to do? Make it too noisy for me to get inside where the real victory is. You know what a real victory is for me? It's not in resisting darkness and getting out there and fight. It's in choosing my inner light. Happiness is an inside job. So I ask you this. Would you rather focus on the darkness, which is temporary, again, I might tell you, or happiness as your inside job? See, happiness is that light that no one or no thing can take away from you. Can't. There's always going to be darkness. There's always going to be light. Make a choice. You are always at choice. See, Groovy read my quote. Happiness is not a reward. Nobody's going to say, here you go. That's not going to happen. It's a response to life and a gentle awareness that right now is enough. You're going to hear all about the nows from all the different fabulous philosophers, spiritual philosophers in the world. See, when I reflect on my happiness, I feel powerful. Happiness is not reserved only when everything is going great. So today, let's explore what it means to practice happiness. And we're going to practice it as a daily creation, not a destination. Remember, or it's renewable. I think I said that. It's not at the end of some long journey. It's right here, right now. You're going to hear that again. Buried in someone else's approval? No. You don't have to get their approval to be happy. You know where it is? It's in these moments that we create right here. Think about your own life. Okay, here's an example. I just said I bought Rosie a Halloween costume already. The joy on that little girl flipping around and pretending she's Spider-Man meant everything in the world to me. But that brought that happiness to me. No matter what I have to do, I got to go do this, I got to go do that. But happiness was renewable. Happiness is an inside job. Rosie's my great-granddaughter. Just want to say that. But even in my times of struggle, I have not seen any times during those struggles that I couldn't smile about something. Because a smile brings happiness. So where there's laughter, there's happiness. Where you joke with somebody and it's mutual, that's happiness. So was there a laugh shared, even though you had moments where you might have been mourning of a loved one or something like that? Were there something sometimes where was there ever a moment or a brief escape into joy when you were doing all this stuff that you're supposed to be so solemn and with? Come on, you know it had to be some days that you could smile even though you was in that. So stop it. For me, happiness is rooted in my spiritual practices. See, I have found joy and power even in the darkest times. And I continue to see them, but I look for the light. And then happiness within comes up for me. See, it took me time to truly believe that I deserved better, first of all, back then. But once I believed, my good times outweighed the crappy times until I began to feel happiness rise from inside of me. Now, I find laughter pop up out of nowhere unexpectedly. When I'm thinking I'm driving it, let it pop up. Stop letting your problems sit there. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Bring the happiness. See, it's in that memory, a story that makes me laugh. You can also find happiness in the smile that comes when you think of good times or the people that are close to you. You know, I think about the things that Rosie says. You know, she taps me somewhere and goes, Gigi, and just starts her conversation. Blah! And you better know she's talking to you, so you listen, right? So that's what makes me laugh. See, you must choose to honor your moments of joy and adopt them as evidence that happiness is an inside job. It's critical to find time for laughter. What's the best way to do that? Well, we can start by being playful. And so you remember Groovy read, the key lies in playfulness. That's a gateway to authentic happiness that bubbles up within. And then, what I mean by bubble up within, once you feel that current, make believe your happiness is the ocean. Once you feel that current run through you, you're not just feeling happiness, you are embodying it. You see, you can keep creating it with every thought of love, with every bit of gratitude, and with the love you give back to yourself. Remember, I told you it's all about self-love. So, whether we are consciously or instinctively, we all possess happiness. It's there, tucked in. Why leave it there? Why leave it in here? It's the same spirit that lived in our ancestors many, many years ago, and will continue as we, the ancestors, lead the other ones. They'll still have that spirit. The spirit never dies. See, our ancestors, they understood this. They celebrated life and good times. They did it during many unimaginable struggles. You know, I saw that when I was a child and my parents and we was going through stuff. I saw them going through stuff. But at the same time, when they had their gatherings, honey, that stuff was out the window. When they had their fun time, go ahead inside and get your drink or do whatever. Go get you something to eat. I'm serious. They found good out of whatever they was dealing with. So who are we to let go of our life and go, I can't do this? They found reasons to sing, to dance, to praise, and keep going. Here's why I believe it. Because of my own reflections. I had a grandmother that was powerful. You know, I saw firsthand that happiness is an inside job. And now I'm that grandma. You know, long before I even created this saying, happiness is an inside job, it just came to me as an affirmation, and I will never let it go. Because as a child, I learned simply by observing the adults around me. And every child, all of you have observed them, but some of you decided, well, I'm going to do what everybody tells me to do, and I'm just going to be a good soldier, and I'm not going to do. But my grandmother, she was a wise woman. You know what? I didn't know all her little sayings and her cliches that she said back then, but I understand them fully now. That's why I connect with so many spiritual philosophies, because at the core, every philosophy speaks the truth. Now you can condemn them because they believe it this way or that way, but that's not your business. My grandmother's happiness wasn't just about survival. It was about thriving as a spiritual being, living human experiences. And I know she knew that on so many levels, because when I look back at my 6th grade autograph book that she wrote little sayings in, I didn't get it then. I got it. She taught me how to pray, as I've come to see that every philosophy and faith pray from the same sacred place. And that's why with Isaiah, he's going to know, I'm going to go, prayer moves things. I know he's going to know that. Because if he sees he's jammed up, he's going to tell me. Trevin, all of them, because they got that. All of them. So if I was born in Christianity, yeah, it was science of mind that I've grown to understand it. That's why I have so much respect for every single philosophy on earth, whether you want to call it religion or what, Christianity, whatever. What I did understand was what I saw. See, I must have been a visual at that time. Now I'm all of them. I'm visual, I'm kinesthetic, I can feel, I can touch, I can, all that stuff. But one of the things I saw, what was so powerful to me now, and I'm looking, as I'm always reflecting, as I saw my grandmother, she would pray out loud in church. As I look back on her, I see her whole being filled with faith. She had nurtured a spirit that she refused to be diminished. When she didn't, back in the day, you know she was supposed to be more humble than what she was. But come on her property and tell her what you gonna do with it. She gonna put you right out of there. She wasn't nobody's joke. So every word she spoke carried power. And there was a little power when she made people respect her, but she also had that power to heal, to sustain that invincible spirit that she had. And now I understand her. And that same spirit lives in each and every one of us. It has the power to heal our struggles, to restore peace, and to remind us happiness is an inside job. I say prayer moves things because I remember how powerful I felt when I started learning how to pray. This made me believe in prayer And I felt that power at 8 years old. I remember telling my grandma, and we called her Big Mama, I said, Big Mama, I wish I could pray like you. She would smile and say, baby, listen, I pray loud anywhere I go. And even when I feel shy, because I used to be the shy one. Yeah, I ain't shy no more, but I used to be. But it doesn't matter what anyone sees. She said, it doesn't matter what they see. She said, because no one can see what's inside of me. So if I'm feeling sad inside, I'm still going to speak. Oh, that lady was powerful. And when I think back on her now, I know without a doubt, happiness is an inside job. So all of us have had that spirit from the beginning of time. It's never going to leave us. All our ancestors were awesome spiritual beings. And here's this. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our philosophers for many, many years. Just a little bit. I'll give a talk on that one day because it's really important that we hear about them. But Lao Tzu, he founded the Tao, okay? And that was way back in the 6th century. So it was before the Bible, the Vaticans, and all that. So let's really get some really purpose and some leverage on really what was really happening instead of worried about what everybody's saying now. They changed all the tides and all of that. But Lao Tzu wrote the Tao Te Ching. And he said a lot of beautiful things. But I was going into his happiness stuff. And he said, happiness is alignment with the flow of the Tao. And that means that the Tao means now. So the Tao is spelled T-A-O, not D-O-W. Because a lot of people may think that the Tao is like, I see it in my mind because I'm a metaphoric person. I see the Tao as a vortex and I'm sitting in it, and that's now. So in teaching, when he talked, I'm quite sure, when he did this one article in there that says the flow with life, he said, when we flow with life and stop struggling to control it. Now, I'll use an example. Imagine me going out there with my signs, no kings in this country, blah, blah, blah. You know what? I don't have time for that. Because that's me struggling, that's me fighting, that's me resisting my own happiness. I want my happiness. So he said, when we stop controlling the flow of life and stop struggling with it, we experience peace. That's why I say happiness is an inside job. So when you realize that there's nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. See, I mirror all these philosophies because I love something about every single one of them. That's why I surrender and allow the peace that comes when I stop resisting what is. So for a few minutes, I'm listening to somebody, I was listening to her, for example, and I'm trying to say, well, why don't you, I said, oh, shh, don't you try to tell her that. Happiness is an inside job. Shut up. Tell her bye, because that's not a conversation you have time for. You gotta know. Everything is about, right now, you're not getting ready to shine on my happiness. So Thich Nhat Hanh, he's another person, I love the name. See, I like picking on them because of their names, right? So Thich Nhat Hanh, he's another awesome philosopher. And what he says about happiness is in the present moment. Huh? Are we still saying now for everything, all throughout? Happiness is free in the here and now. And here's the deal. Happiness sustains our oneness with spirit. So if you really want to practice happiness so that you can sustain that oneness with spirit. And just like in Reverend Soldier's prayer, press forward. I said, my goodness, between her and Alan, they talking all about what I'm talking about. This spirit, this oneness with spirit, gives us the strength to press forward. Do you believe that you have that same power of happiness? Do you really believe it? Because you can say, yeah, but you don't have to impress me, because you want to impress me, let me see you live it. Because that's how I used to say when I was getting out of Christianity. I was like, I don't want to hear this. Close the book and live it. That's what I used to say. And Spirit, I said it so much that I began to see, this is how you live it. All you have to do is practice, and you evolve little by little so you can see what you need to see. And our oneness with Spirit backs us. It uplifts us. And guess what? It ties us to the manifestations we are looking for. Because why? Happiness is an inside job. And our oneness with Spirit reminds us that even in the hardest times, we are capable of happiness. And also, okay, so 6th century, 1st century, I don't care how far you go back. But in this century, what we know is that spiritual practices is our greatest mind, body, spirit connection. We need all three. Yes, you need money, because you need that to live. Yes, you need to help your body, heal your body, do some exercises. Yes, you need to, glorify yourself with gratitude to help your mind feel better. You need them all. Because that's what makes happiness be the inside job. So Thich Nhat Hanh, he had a lot of practices. When I say spiritual practices really build us, watch. He talks about mindfulness. I love reading him. Simply breathing, he said. There's something powerful about that breathing, because I want you to know, when you're making that breath, you are creating your own nitric oxide the same way you would create, what's that word that begins with an S? It makes you happy. Well, you know what I'm talking about. And dopamine and all that stuff. We got that in our system. So that's why the breathing, because it's bringing that stuff out. The nitric oxide helps your heart. The nitric oxide helps your organs. Breathe and walk. Move. Because you see, the body depends on movement, even if you just move it. Because all these awesome lymphatic fluids have to be, your body got to move so that they can get all that inflammation moving, right? That's how we can become fully present. So I continue to evolve because of this truth. Happiness is an inside job. What about you? See, because it's time for us to embrace the power of playtime, celebration, and happiness in our lives, no matter what we're going through. So when I think back on my grandmother, her faith, the laughter I would see her having when that minister would come to our house and visit, and they come, that's what they did. But I see her courage, and I see her pray out loud, and see all of those things she did. Whereas my own mom and aunts and uncles, they would sit back and go, I tell you, I watched all the adults. And I know you have, but you gotta have, what are you watching for? What are you gonna use them for? So I used that information that I got. And I realized she was writing her own story, with every word she spoke. And that's what we're called to do. See, we can't control the last chapters. I'm getting ready to talk about that song. You can see, Unwritten, right? We can't control the last chapters of our life that we didn't write, but we have a choice to write. And guess what? We get to decide what we want to write that unwritten chapter about. We can write a better life. That's why I talk about journaling. That's why I talk about sitting down in contemplation. Because if you don't contemplate, you're not going to know what you want to write. So, we're in choice, because the rest of our life is unwritten. From this moment on, right now, what you got to do today in 20 minutes is unwritten. Most of our music lyrics invite us to let go, to relax, and to allow ourselves to be carried by that spirit moving in, through, and as us. That's why I love this next song. So it reminds us that the writers of the chapters of our lives is who? It's us. Everything after this moment here, once this beautiful, uplifting service is over, everything is still unwritten today. Even though you have desires, well, I'm gonna do this with the kids. Me and Isaiah will probably do something, I don't know. But maybe we'll go to Kevin. I don't know. But I do know what I want, so guess who writes it? The future from here is waiting for you to write your chapters. Listen to the song, Unwritten, by Natasha Bedingfield. Yeah, the rest is still unwritten. So you know what? Only you can let it in. So if just because somebody's complaining to me about how they can't do this because they're not motivated, only they can let it in. No one else can speak the words on their lips. So remember, you are the writer of your own story. Everything after today is still unwritten. The next chapter doesn't depend on what happened in the past. Okay? It depends on the happiness you choose to feel, to believe, and write about it today. Remember, we talked about now the whole time. Happiness is an inside job. I just want to build briefly on what Alan said. So here's what I know. I know that if you find yourself coming back and forth every single week to CSL Charlotte, you are being fed very well. Maybe a word, a breath, or prayer that lands just right in you. Maybe you felt a calm you can't explain on your own. But CSL Charlotte is a sanctuary without walls. We are held together by our oneness with spirit and our presence with each other. So anytime you think about it like this, it's like a sacred space. It doesn't matter about perfection or only participation. So like Alan, I like what you said, chip in. Why not? We're all in the same boat, going, flying. Timmy P is the pilot. But just think about this though. Imagine you were hosting your own gathering in your own home and you paid all the expenses and nothing's free, right? But here's what I know. How long would you keep that up? But I have this conviction, so it's a little different, but it'd be nice to know because I know this. I'm not alone, not with this community. Each of us are now contributing at least 10 to 20 to 30 to maybe $50 every week. And all we do is flourish. We just move and move and move. And then suppose you keep thinking, believing that you can't donate. Maybe, just maybe, this is your moment to start to practice trust in your financial supply. Because if you don't trust your financials, you don't get to keep it. And it just keeps dwindling and looking like less and less. I'm saying, because you have to be open to your ability to give back. You have something, and it takes more than practice around your trust. You got to do more practice. You got to do more concerning yourself with your financial supply. And I say gratitude for it. And guess what else? Your self-worth. So giving is not a demand here. It's definitely a choice. Remember, I always say you got to choose it, but it's sacred, yes. So just say this. Are you ready to say yes? So just keep that in mind as you remember happiness is an inside job. So today was actually all about happiness being that inside job, but on our journey, joy is essential because you have to embody happiness as an inside job. Do you hear the word joy? But when you hear the word I enjoy this service, you embody I enjoy CSL Charlotte, ENJOY. You embody CSL Charlotte. So another point is a smile goes a long way. A smile is summoned by our gratitude, our thoughts, and vision. It's my spiritual practice, a smile. That's right. And while I'm working with people, whether I'm on the stage training maybe 40, 50 people at once, or maybe I'm doing one-on-ones by myself, what happens? I smile because every time I'm smiling, I'm staying in spirit too. So I can say the things that this person could go through their healing with. So once my smile rises, I let myself feel emotions of that smile. I use that energy to manifest all my desires. Did you know that a single smile is powerful enough to shift your entire being? It's been transforming my cells. This smile that I make every day, it's been transforming my cells to, I don't know, to happy for many years. Happiness is an inside job. What about you? So are you ready to try it? Smile and tell yourself happiness is an inside job, and at the same time, let's listen to Kirk Franklin sing I Smile. Yeah, I smile, even though I hurt, see, I smile. I know God is working, so I smile, even though I'm in it for a while. Don't y'all wish I could sing? Ooh, I love it, boy. Every one of these, everything from the moment I said good morning to this moment, I've been sparked by this light in me. Because happiness is an inside job. That's all I want to say. And then, with that said, you know, Reverend Sonja, she's got to come back. Come on, girl.
Oh, wow. So just, I feel that joy inside of me this morning as I listen to Reverend Rosedale bring a powerful message. And I'm reminded that when she said that she saw her grandmother sitting at the table praying or praying out loud, I'm reminded that she was speaking life over her family and over her children, and knowing her philosophy and her belief was that there is a higher power, which there is. We know it to be within us. And so what I heard this morning is remembrance. I heard remember who you are. I heard joy. I heard, you know, praying out loud. And I heard, about babies and love and all of this stuff that Reverend Rosedale talked about today. It's an inside job. And so I just am so grateful for the reminder that this is an inside job. She reminds us every week of who and whose we are and that powerful presence that she is. And I have to know that that probably came from her lineage. Her grandmother spoke life into her so she can speak life into this world, this beautiful world. And so as I end this prayer, I want to go back to the idea that it's still unwritten, that we write our own stories. And when we remember the power of presence of God within us, we can let that story be of love, of joy, and that can bring us peace. And I have to see and visualize in my own mind's eye that that causes a ripple effect into the world. And so I'm so grateful for today. I'm so grateful for the reminder that when I smile, when I have joy and I find that happiness within, it shows on the outside. And this is the way I show up. And so I invite you to just sit with what she said over this coming week and allow that joy within you, that is the joy from heaven within, to shine, because we are light. And so I just let go, let God this beautiful Sunday morning. And so it is.
Girl, Sonja, she hit every note. Oh, y'all y'all guys hit this talk like I did it over. But Sonja, you're right about that. Now I believe you, girl. So that, girl, you prayed that prayer, girl. You understand? So as we wrap up our time together, remember, happiness is an inside job. It's celebrating what's coming this week. Write, journal, speak it, record it, but write that next chapter. Sit in your oneness with spirit this week and smile and remind yourself that happiness is an inside job. And remember, the universe is always supporting you on your journey. And so until we meet again, start practicing, smile, keep living, and keep knowing that happiness is an inside job. And so it is.